world has changed. America has changed. If something were to happen tomorrow, how self-sufficient would you be? Could you grow your own food? Could you sustain your own livestock? Could you survive? This is the We Grow Our Show with Nick and Don. Nick and Don talk about everything from politics to planting. They cover techniques, methods, and tips on how to not only survive, but thrive. Visit the website at WeGrowOurs.com. Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show. Get your grow on.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show. Hope everybody had a fabulous week. I've got a lot of positive feedback on the Kuni Kunis.
Did you?
Oh yeah, it got shared like 12 times off of Hostile Hair.
Nice.
And anyway, a lot of people liked them. Some people were like, "What the heck is that?"
It's an Ewok.
It looks like a
pig.
Looks like a bear and a pig got together, made a baby.
It was a fun show. I had fun editing that one.
Yeah, buddy. Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of fun shows, I'm trying to figure out a transition into this. We'll say embarrassing moments.
Okay.
So I was recently kind of sick, and we'll just say it was flu-like symptoms. And so I'm going down 3rd Street in the middle of ghetto.
You really want to go through this story? I didn't know it was going to be like that.
It's bad. It's bad. But everybody's been there where it's like, oh no, I have an emergency.
And I have to go now.
Yeah. And I was literally looking through the stuff in my truck to see if I had toilet paper to go and find a place to.
You're a prepper. You should.
I should have that. Yeah. I mean, I was.
I've got 3 rolls in the trunk and 1 in the center console.
Well, I have a bunch of like paper towels. And so that was plan B. Plan A was to find a suitable location with a closed door.
Good plan.
So, oh good, Jack in the Box. I can get there. And pulled into the Jack in the Box parking lot and fly in there. And I go to the men's room. It's a, locking single stall.
Yeah.
Men's room, and the door opened up and there's a dude just like washed his hands like, "Oh, hey, are you, he's like, "Oh, I'm just getting in here." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to have to go home and change my pants if I don't get into a bathroom." So I'm like, "All right, woman's room. I don't care. It's open. It's a single stall. Screw it." I go in there, lock the door, destroy the place. I mean, it was bad. And I've been there for like 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden I hear talking right outside the door. And this lady starts pounding on the door.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh gosh, this is so bad. And I don't say anything. I'm just in there because as soon as there's a man's voice, then she's going to be freaked out or whatever. Like she'll just go away. She'll come back.
You can do a
boom, 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 boom. Oh, wouldn't that be a surprise when the door finally opened though? And so anyway, she continues to pound on the door, and now I've got stage fright. I'm in there for another like 2 minutes. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Walking out of here in a work shirt with the company name on it and everything else. Anyway, so finally I was like, all right, she's just being really rude with the pounding on the door. It's a locked door and there's business to be done here. You don't mess with anybody on the toilet. Anyway, so I wash my hands. I take my time and I walk up right as the door starts to get pounded again. Fling it open and said, "It's ready." I think she peed a little. Now,
I don't even know where to go with this story.
Me neither, but I figured I would embarrass myself in front of the whole world.
Alrighty then.
So if you just happen to be listening and you were in the Jack in the Box about a week ago, my apologies on so many levels. No, I'm not. I'd like to have a conversation with that woman. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, transition from that. All right. I'm usually all right at the transitions, but,
oh, man.
I don't think I can.
I don't know. Well, last week
I got it. Speaking of fun shit.
Gosh, please edit that. Oh, no, last week we were talking about putting together a Poop 101 class. I listened to the episode again. I'm like, oh my gosh, we really said that. So I think we need to do it.
Alrighty.
You know, proper bathroom etiquette, when to bang on the door, when not to.
You know what the show is about, right?
Well, you know, you're growing your own food. It's got to go somewhere eventually. I mean, come on.
All right, moving on.
What will you do when your stored supplies run out? Are you prepared? Hostile Hair provides equipment and education you need to control your own infinite food supply. We have live food storage systems, rabbits, quail, and other urban livestock for any situation and strategy. Don't be limited by what's on the shelves. Get started with an infinite food source today. Get prepped, stay fed with Hostile Hair. Call 480-331-3761 or visit hostilehair.com.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there's an in-studio guest, and I'm pretty sure he's scared now.
Oh, I think it'd take a lot more than that to scare him.
All right. Well, this week we're gonna have Raging Roger on the show.
Roger Rage.
Roger Rage.
That's my nickname for him.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't rage much. How you doing, Raj?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Very good. Thanks for joining us in the Situation Room.
Thanks for having me. Hey, and about that, you'd figure with Jack in the Box, they'd be all okay with transgendered people using their, restrooms.
Well, there you go. Shout out to Jack in the Box.
Small business shout out.
Small business shout out. It's not exactly a small business. Certain franchise on 3rd Street in South Phoenix. My apologies. Oh, if we had a camera in here.
All right, so we want to go into gold and silver this week, Raj.
Okay.
And you've been doing this for a while.
I have, yes. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. Actually, since I was a little kid collecting coins, and Mom and Dad always go through this, look for the silver dimes and quarters if there's any in there, you know. When I grew up as a kid, it was a little bit after we stopped coining our change in 90% silver. So after 1964, we had a few years there of good picking where we could find some silver dimes and quarters, but they went, and some nickels too, but they went quick. Anyway, around high school, it was about 1980, junior year, we had a social studies teacher. They called it history then. And that's when silver hit $50 an ounce. Gold hit $800 an ounce. It was just crazy. It was, what was that? 9 years after, Nixon got us out of the gold window there and closed the gold window. So we had that huge run up in the precious metals, and our history teacher just made a killing in the futures market, man, in this thing. So I was like, wow, that's cool. I always, knew about that. And that was the same time I was into it too. I had my silver quarters and everything. Bought my first shotgun with $2 silver quarters,
And this is high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, getting out of high school, I did what most kids out of high school do. I didn't worry about too much, anything other than girls and stuff like that. So, but several years down the road, me and a buddy of mine got talking about this commodities deal, and we started studying every week, and we put a lot of time into it. And so once a week we would study, and we got the charts and we got the graphs and everything else like that. And we would do paper trading, which is very important if you're going to trade anything, and you never traded in an open market before. Very important to practice before you look before you lead, to test the water, whatever you want to say,
Right.
So we did that, and after a couple of years, I finally opened up an account, and it took a couple of years before I had to worry about, telling my accountant about, any gains. But eventually, it started clicking, and I did okay. I mean, it supplemented my income, and time came when I had a decision to make on a career change. So I said, well, I'll get my Series 3, become a associated person with a brokerage firm in town. So I did that and was a little disillusioned because when I first opened up my brokerage account the first time, commissions were like $100 a trade. I mean, and that's unheard of now. It was $50 in,
And now
$50
you're lucky if it's
out.
$10.
Yeah, $10, $12.50 I think was the last I had. And that's about it. I didn't make so when I started the brokerage business, $12.50 round turn was what I got. I had $1 million book. It was big, but it wasn't easy to get people to trade,
Right.
So, and you can't force them, but they were always like, churn and burn, the Chicago boys, and that wasn't my style. I was in there to try to actually help people out in the trade.
You were in the wrong business for that.
Yeah, I really was. I couldn't sell iced tea to somebody in hell. I'm not a salesman. I'm not that kind of guy.
Now, the gold and silver thing, though, that's kind of genetic. Because your dad, I've heard stories, and your dad was the same way.
Exactly. He was more of a cheapskate. So he would do the penny stocks on the gold shares, and he would have them all over the living room wall and stuff like that of all the ones that weren't worth anything anymore.
Nice.
But my mom had a big giant bank full of gold, just silver coins that she had saved over the years. When it finally got full, we busted that thing open, and me and my brother, and he was a bigger collector than I was. We would, try to fill our books and get all the coins and stuff like that in all the years. And he would even go and he had his paper route plus work down at the resale shop down the street and everything else like that. And he was a go-getter and I love him. And, he went down and got his 1909S, VDB penny, to complete his Lincoln penny collection.
Did you have a Lincoln penny book?
No.
No? Oh, I did. I love the penny books. He went through and got every year and every series you could get. It was a cardboard thing. And you put the pennies in it or the quarters or 50-cent pieces, whatever it was, dollars, and you fill that book up.
Yeah, I'd never, I don't know. I didn't even collect baseball cards, man. I didn't do any of that stuff.
And we collected everything. We had a collection of mud in the backyard that we kept forever. Anyway.
So I want to ask you, I want to get back to what gold and silver, kind of a real brief history of, we know that gold is a metal that you can't just go get. So why is it good to collect this stuff? What's the purpose? Most of our listeners are preppers.
Okay.
So why would I prep with gold or silver?
Sure. So even going back to the founding of this country, and I don't know, if this is just a story or what, but it's said that George Washington melted down his silver plate to make the first coins because they needed silver coinage. Because, you ever hear the expression, that's not worth a continental? Well, there was a continental currency before we started minting silver and gold coinage in this country, and it financed the Revolutionary War. Towards the end of the Revolutionary War, George Washington was quoted as saying that a wagon load of continental currency wouldn't buy a wagon load of provisions anymore because it was just scrip. It was just pieces of paper, much like we have today. Now,
interesting. Unbacked bills, basically.
Yes. Now, up until 1971, when Nixon closed the gold window, we had a quasi gold-backed currency. In 1913, we instituted the Federal Reserve system, passed by Congress on 2 days before Christmas in 1913, and it was a big manipulation of public opinion and different factions going against one another who were really working towards one goal, which was to get a Federal Reserve Act in place. And that was a control. It was a control of the banks to control the issuance of currency, and they could do it they could control the interest rates, which is why we got into this Well, it's the cause of the 29 stock market crash too. They inflated the money supply, made easy money, then contracted it, had a bust. And it's a boom bust cycle, and it's always been that way, and it's been that way forever. There's always money allocated towards different projects that when they build up to a certain point, there's no more money for it. Or if it's easy money and they just keep dumping money into it, what happens? You create a bubble. So more and more money goes into this project instead of it stopping. So just like the real estate boom that we had here in, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Up to about 8.
Yeah. And then that popped. So anyway, getting back to the original question on why is it important to have a little bit of gold or silver in a prepping situation, because when the pudding hits the fan, a dime today will buy nothing. It has a dime has, I don't know, a half of a cent worth of material in it. A silver dime has about $2 worth of stuff in it, $2 of silver. So a silver dime today, a pre-1964 silver dime of today, will buy the same thing it did 100 years ago. It'll buy a loaf of bread. It maintains its purchasing power. What the Fed does is decreases the purchasing power of our dollar by not backing it with anything. And that was about 98% of the value of our money ago. So since 1913 to 2014, our currency has lost about 98% of its value. However, in the hard asset category of our money, it still has a relatively similar purchasing power.
So minimum wage back when it was a couple of silver quarters is really the same as minimum wage right now, because you could sell those silver quarters and buy a loaf of bread just like you can now.
Right. And I've even heard of people paying their people in silver and then claiming the taxes and stuff like that, because that's legal tender. Right. But they get in trouble for it and everything, and there's a big hassle. So, I don't really go down that road. But
so do you have any questions?
I do, because for one, 1970s is a little bit out of my age range. What exactly was the gold window, and what did Nixon do there?
Okay, after World War II, in 1940, I forget what it was, 45, 46 or something like that, they had the Bretton Woods Agreement, and what that did was that to the victors of war go the spoils. Uh-huh. So the United States was the top dog. We had no war over here. Our infrastructure was intact. We geared up. We started making Chevys and Fords and, building little houses. Europe was in shambles. Japan was nuked. Russia had, minus 3 million people. So we got the status of being the reserve financier of the world, the reserve currency of the world. We actually did rebuild most of the torn up, war-torn world. And so did our corporations go in and help them out too.
Oh yeah. That's investing in the future, right?
Indeed. They had that divvied up before the thing was over, I think.
Anyway. Well, I didn't realize. So being as young as I am, there's a lot of things that we're just not taught in school. For example, the Federal Reserve comes into fruition in 1913.
Correct.
When did the IRS come in?
1913.
Yeah, the same exact time.
Because when you start printing fiat currency that the Treasury prints gives to the Federal Reserve to loan back to us at interest, we need a revenue base to pay the interest on that money. So the entire reason, and this was proven back in the Reagan years when they did a study on where the income tax money goes and all the IRS money goes. The Internal Revenue Service gets the money for the Treasury to pay off the interest on the notes that it makes to gives to the Fed to lend to us. Okay, that's pretty much it. They might have a couple bucks left over for a Tootsie Roll or something.
Yeah.
They throw parties.
And then
cigars, Yeah.
And then I'll go to my very exquisite education, A Schoolhouse Rock, where it talks about Tyrannosaurus debt. I don't know if you guys seen that one. No, it's kind of funny. But anyway, it talks about how we owe ourselves the money. And the reality is it's owed to the Federal Reserve, correct?
Yes, we are the collateral for the debt.
Okay.
So the Federal Reserve owns the debt.
Yeah, I guess you would say the Federal Reserve owns our debt, and who
owns the Federal Reserve?
And that's a consortium of private banks,
Chase Morgan,
Rockefeller, Barclays, and Rothschild, and all those guys.
Rothschild, there's a name, huh?
Barclays. I don't know. There's probably 6 or 7 of them. They don't let me in on the meetings. But by the time 1971 comes along, we have to pay for LBJ's new
the Great Deal.
Yeah, what do they call that?
I think it was the Great Plan, the Great Deal.
The New American,
the final solution.
Well, it was a bunch of welfare is what it comes down to. Plus a very expensive Vietnam War. So we were getting in debt and in debt and in debt, and we started having inflation here in this country. We started losing a little bit of face, and people worried about getting their gold, and pretty soon Nixon said, no more. From now on, you're getting Federal Reserve notes, and that's it. And from that moment on, we were off of the gold standard.
And that was 71.
That was 71. August 17th, I think.
Okay, so how is gold and silver done from that point till now?
Okay, well, gold at that point was $40 an ounce where it was pegged on the reserve. Silver, I don't know what it was. It wasn't much, under $1 probably, and or $1 an ounce, I don't know. From there, it went up to about $200 in 75, 76, and then they pounded it down to $100. And they relegated it to the dustbin of history, quote unquote. But from the moment that they closed the gold window, there was economists around that knew fundamentally that a fiat currency backed by nothing and created out of thin air cannot survive. And it will not, you don't know how long these things are going to last, but they know that gold is not going to stay at $40 an ounce when it used to back the most powerful currency in the world, and arguably still is the most powerful currency in the world, even though they're printing up 85 billion of it a month and, giving it to foreign banks and spreading it all over the place. But the whole world's in a mess. The whole world's printing fiat paper. So what fiat paper do you like better? Do you like Charmin or do you like Northern Quilted? It's the same. It's really the same deal.
So that, and that brings up, okay, so let's say we're printing out fiat currency. Half the world is, but let's say Russia and China decide, hey, we're not going to use the US dollar as a reserve currency anymore. Our dollar, obviously, at that point, $8 trillion worth of debt over there, floods our market, and our currency, our interest rates go up, and inflation just skyrockets.
Okay, that's
a pretty,
well,
you can see that happening.
You're exactly right. And because now we have what's coming online, the BRICS country, what they call it, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa. So, and they're getting together and getting their own consortium of allegiance or, whatever you want to call it together. And they're going to start their own bank. Now they have to put in a certain amount of money. They're thinking about having it as a gold-backed. Don't know the technicals on it, but they're going to start trading in that currency. So probably the renminbi in Chinese yuan or something. And the Chinese have been buying so much gold. In fact, I don't know if last year or this year they're going to probably pick up the entire world's production for the year, and so. And they're encouraging their people to buy gold. Here, you turn on the news, people are saying, gold's dead, it's going down to $500 now, So what happens? Well, what's that gold and silver in your pocket worth? Because one of the things that we're always talking about is you got to grow your own food, you got to do this, you got to do that. And part of that reason is I'm not convinced that having a gold coin in my pocket is going to be worth anything when the dollar collapses. Well, It always has been for past 6,000 years. So chances are it's got a pretty good track record. It's got a better, what else are you going to have? I mean,
food.
I know you can't eat gold and you can't eat bullets.
But you got to have something to trade.
But if you have something where somebody has somebody likes that stuff and people generally gravitate towards it, especially when they have goods to sell, they're not going to sell you a tomato for a tomato.
Right.
So,
Trade a bushel of tomato for a couple 100 pounds of rabbit meat.
And you could do that too. Although, then you come into the question, how do I store this rabbit meat? Can I preserve it? Can I get it to it's a gold coin or a couple of silver dollars that may purchase all that rabbit meat, is very easy to transport. It's very easy to store. It's very easy to hide. It's, I think it's important for everybody to at least consider taking a little bit, and you don't have to go cuckoo. I wouldn't be buying $20 double eagles or, the big bullion coins.
Now, a $20 double eagle, what is that worth? I mean, what are you paying for those now?
$1,400 probably. I mean, spot's probably just over $1,200 now. So you got a premium on the numismatics. But say you get a bullion coin for the same price. So you spend $1,200 for a gold coin. Not too many people going to have change for that if things are really tough. So you want fractional stuff. I like the fractional, the 90% silver coins. I mean, you can pick them, you can probably even go on Craigslist, for goodness sake, and go looking around and find somebody that has a roll of something, and you don't.
I've traded chickens for silver coins.
Right. So you don't have to spend a lot of money or time or effort. I mean, I could show you how to, do stuff on paper with put a margin on a contract of 5,000 ounces of silver to make a profit so you could purchase some. It may not, I wouldn't, that's risky. I mean, especially the volatility of the metal markets now. I mean, we had to run up back when I was trading pretty much exclusively gold and silver in the futures markets. Gold was under $400 an ounce. You didn't have a big swing during the day. You had a $5 swing, and silver was under $5. So, and now silver was $50 just a year and a half ago or so.
Really?
Oh yeah. And they nailed that down to, $17 now, $16 and change, I think now. And the gold was up at $1,900 an ounce. Now, but you also have, it's very, very manipulated. There's a lot of, what do you call it? I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
It's just, fraud is a
fraud. That would be a good way to call it.
For lack of a better word. So last year, I think it was like October 10th, 2013, you had 200 million ounces of gold dumped on the market within a minute. Okay. Institutional traders don't do that. I don't,
nobody would do that.
Central bankers may be able to do that. The Federal Reserve might be able to do that.
Those guys that are like,
right.
way up
and
there.
it also happened early this year in January when I think like 1,200 contracts it was up overnight in Asia, around a couple hours into the trading session, 1,200 contracts just like that, bam, hit the
Why would they do that?
Well, they want to smack down because they're short. They're short more gold and silver than there is gold and silver.
Gotcha.
And so they can control, but the market will find a way. They can't, it's like that Jurassic Park thing, like, are you saying that two female raptors can mate and make the market will find a way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if the market will find a way or the market will cease to exist and a new market will be created. I mean, you see that even with Bitcoin right now.
I was just going to say Bitcoin's.
If that's what happens, then that's the market's way of doing it. Yeah, of course. It's like any bubble. It's like this whole debacle with the bailout. If we had let that just go and not bailed out these guys to the tunes of trillions of dollars, tens of trillions, if not more, but we'll say conservatively $28 trillion, then it would have been tough for a year or so, but you know what? That stuff, those guys would have either been looking for another job or in jail where they belong, and we would have gotten a system back up and shake out that all this malinvestment is just continued to be propped up and inflated again and again. As soon as a bubble bursts, they want to blow up another one. So it's a perpetual, and that's the whole, not the whole thing, but Keynesian economics in a nutshell is perpetual bubbles. Right. So you have the .com bubble, and that bursts in 2000, and then, Volcker comes out and says, we need to lower interest rates and get a housing bubble going. So
I think we got a student loan bubble that's going to pop pretty soon too.
I think what they ought to do with student loans is just
say bye-bye.
Yeah.
Just
forget about it.
Do a year of Jubilee and all debts are forgiven.
Yeah. I think repudiate them. I think they ought to do that with the national debt too. And there's no way this debt can be paid.
Yeah, we're at what, over $17 trillion.
Now you're talking too, and that's a good point. $17 trillion, and we're talking back in Nixon in 71. Well, the national debt I think was $240 billion. It was $250 billion, and now we have $17 trillion, and $5 trillion of it is in the past 8 years.
And they keep saying, oh, well, don't worry about it because it's as a percent of the GDP.
No. Well, that doesn't fly anymore. That flew in 2008. Now it's not that much anymore because now we have negative GDP growth. And when they say we do have positive GDP growth, I don't know anybody who believes them.
No, I don't either.
Because they revise it 5 times.
So now is the time to go get the gold, get the silver, because we've got something coming.
It is low, man. You're at a year low right now for gold and silver, and I would be snatching it up. I mean, hey, I would be looking around locally, even if you get a little bit every week, dollar cost average yourself into the market. If you're into looking at paper stuff and selling options or buying options, you can do it like that. But, like I said, when the pudding hits the fan, you ain't going to get a hold of you're not going to get a hold of your broker to cash in anything in paper. So,
well, and I've heard that's a major part of fraud is people buying notes on gold. Like, so somebody's acting like they've got all this gold. They have a business where it's basically fractional lending. You're buying into it at a percentage of the gold that they have available.
Never buy physical gold without taking possession of that gold. Never take a receipt for that. Now the COMEX will give you a receipt for that. The COMEX is the exchange in New York that trades the silver and the gold, and they have warehouse receipts. But you can't trust them. I don't think they don't have all the silver that they're supposed to have here. In fact, I heard of one deal where, they're supposed to get 5,000 ounces and they couldn't get that, 100-ounce bars or something like that. So they had to get like he wound up, they'd get like 160-ounce bars or some kind of off-the-wall kind of a thing to get delivery. And he wound up with like 30 extra or 300 extra ounces or something.
Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah, it was kind of 30 extra ounces.
Heck of a deal. Like, actually, sign me up. Unless you're the guy that 300 went away from.
That was a secondhand story, but I believe it.
So, I mean, and again, your opinion here is that, something's going to happen at some point. We cannot keep sustaining this debt. We can't keep backing this fiat currency. We've got a Federal Reserve that's privately owned that's backing something. We just passed the Audit the Fed bill, which has been manipulated all to, not what it was supposed to be in the first place. What happens? We've got an election coming up. I'm scared. So,
I've got 300 rabbits in my possession. I ain't scared.
I got kids. This is going to change their lives if something does happen.
I got bullets and bunnies. I'm ready.
Yeah. And a flamethrower.
Whatever, if we get into a serious economic downturn, and it could stem from the Euro's in a mess. You got the United States with sanctions against Russia, and we're busting European banks' balls for doing business with them because they do a lot of business over there. They got natural gas and oil and this and that and the other thing.
Yeah, and they don't have to swim to get it.
Okay, so we're finding those banks billions of dollars and stuff like that, and they're not too happy with us. So we're meddling in everybody's business that we can possibly meddle into. And no, they're not happy with us.
And the solution seems to be just go to war and fund it that way.
Well, that's my fear. My fear isn't the ice cap melting, and my fear isn't a bunch of ISILs coming over and trying to kick my butt. My fear is that they're going to start a big old major. And I would just urge people, get off the nationalistic, let's go to war drumbeat thing. It's time that we turn that corner and turn that page.
We can't afford it anymore.
We had enough in exactly. Well, we can't afford it anymore, and I don't think we're smiled upon from above too much for instigating this stuff.
Yeah,
but I'll leave it there.
So, I mean, and I'll give you an example. Something I don't know. Today we record in the Situation Room on Tuesdays. We had our first case of Ebola confirmed today in Dallas. Now, I'm not too paranoid about it at this point. I'm not too overly concerned about it. I'm not running around screaming, Ebola. But
you just did.
It's something to be concerned about. And a little thing like that can catch fire.
Yeah.
And it can impact our market.
It certainly can. And I think it started when they had those, what was it, the two fellas over in Sierra Leone, or what was it, Liberia?
In Liberia,
yeah.
Sick.
They pulled them over into Georgia.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot, a lot of issue with that.
What was interesting about that was it was right across the street from the CDC. Okay? And the CDC actually has a patent.
That's right.
On the Ebola virus or certain strains of it.
Yeah.
So they were, to me, I always ask, why?
Right.
Why would you bring two guys that are almost over this thing and take the risk of bringing them here? It just happens to be right next to the CDC where you guys are patenting viruses?
They've got patents on more than Ebola, though. I'll tell you that. I mean, I went through the other day.
Who's got the 90% kill rate Ebola virus patented?
I'm sure it's us.
Monsanto.
Imagine that.
Yeah, of all people, why the hell would
but
they have that?
They have a seed that's resistant.
Oh, good.
It's an Ebola resistant seed.
It distributes it, and it's resistant.
And that's another thing you always have to ask why with these criminals, because like the head of the Department of Agriculture, revolving door from Monsanto to the Department of Agriculture.
Oh, yeah. Now you're singing our song, buddy.
You have questions raised on Monsanto. You get some action started against them. He's the guy that's in head charge.
He wrote it before he was in office.
Exactly.
Well, that was actually a chick. That happened in 84. She worked for Monsanto, and then in 89 she approved what she had written for Monsanto as an acting member of the FDA.
Yeah, imagine that.
But that's happened at least 3 or 4 times since.
Okay, so moving back to the gold thing, though, my point with Ebola, although I agree with with you guys, and I could do this for hours, the point is something small, and we don't know how big this is going to be, but something like that can come in and affect our market. Again, you got terrorist attacks, you got white flag operations. I'm not going to go into all that, but you don't know what's coming tomorrow, which is why I'd say the majority of our audience is preppers. Mm-hmm. I'm a prepper, not for, again, I don't think the world's going to end tomorrow, but again, I like to have some food on my plate, and I'd like to have some coins in my pocket, and I just want to make sure I'm doing it right.
For anybody out there who doesn't have any funds, if an ounce of silver is $17 an ounce, and you can get some at a premium for, I don't know, or just some 90% coins for, that comes out to 18 or 19 bucks an ounce, I would do that. But you know what else you can do? If you have $10 bill and you can find the right bank, go down and see if they have rolls of $50. There are so many people that turn in rolls of $50 and don't go through them, and they wind up having either 90% bennies in them or 40% or 90% Kennedy half dollars in them. So, and I've seen them, and sometimes they're all 40%. People don't think that they have silver in them. But up to 1971, I believe, Kennedy half dollars had 40% silver in them. And I get the thing right here. Let me
So
see
where can somebody find stuff like that out?
60, up to 1970, $2.50. So for 50 cents, you're getting $2.50 worth of silver. And that's forever.
Right. Right now it's $2.50.
Right.
I mean, it could go a lot higher too. And it's not going to go below 50 cents if nothing happens.
Exactly.
So you really aren't going to lose anything.
Well, yeah.
Where do I find
You
out
didn't
that
spend
info?
I just look online. I go to a place called Coinflation, and it'll give you the daily spot of the underlying silver and the amount of percentage of silver, the face value of the coin, and the years, so you can make sure you have the right years that you're looking at. Because the older pennies before 1981 or something like that, they're worth 2 cents.
Right.
If you do nothing else, you can double your money by collecting pennies.
You can't melt them down though.
That's illegal.
You can't melt them down, but still.
Unless the penny goes away. I know there's one guy stashing, he's got a warehouse of copper pennies waiting for the pennies to eventually go away, because once the coin goes away, I guess you can melt it at that point.
Yeah.
So
nickel came down a little bit. It's only like 4.5 cents for a nickel now, but it definitely costs more to manufacture a nickel than
Same as a dollar.
the face value. Yeah.
I think it's like a buck, $1.20 to make $1.
Yeah.
To make $1 what?
To make a bill, $1 bill.
It costs $1.20.
Yeah.
They print the things out like.
Yeah, well, it's on a type of fabric.
Yeah, but you know why too? Because they got to pay the pension for the retards that are freaking running the press. They got to freaking do that forever, and they're a bunch of. Never mind.
Come on. We were just going to get to the rage part.
He's turning red. He's turning red. Hulk
I'm trying to get
smash.
him going.
Hey, I'm calm, cool, and collected today.
Yeah, you are.
Oh man. Well,
but I like getting just trying to get a little message out there that it's not hard to do, and you don't need a lot. It's nice to have a lot, but it's not nice to have nothing when if something happens. Well, and when you hold a handful of silver coins in your hand, it's just something about it when you pick up this clad stuff that's made out of zinc and
yeah,
and
feels like Monopoly.
Yeah.
Well, here's a suggestion too. I'll go ahead and throw this a shout out to Noble Mint. You remember Bill from Noble Mint?
Yeah, I remember Roger got to meet Bill.
Yeah, I did.
At one of the prepper events. He went to, you came out there, Mesa, wasn't it? You came all the way out from the North Valley to Mesa. Cause I says there's this gold and silver guy out here, Noble Mint, And Roger come out to buy something. He's just,
should I tell a story?
Yeah.
Oh, let's hear it. Cause we already mentioned his name, so people can go and find him.
I went up there. I said, "Yeah, I'll take a silver eagle. That's a 1 ounce silver mint coin, U.S. mint coin." He goes, "Well, we don't sell them." I said, "We only sell them by the big box, which is 250 ounces, and so it's like $18,000 or some kind of." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "You could sell one of those boxes here if you just crack it open and sell them for. You could sell them for $30 a pop. People will be buying them all day."
But did he show up with one of those boxes there?
He had
all of them displayed.
He had like 2 or 3 coins on his big table.
He's getting.
Well, okay.
Now he might sell them at the store, and part of the thing with the Prepper Fest is you've got to have licensing in place in order to sell, and I think that was probably part of it. But
I don't know, because the one that you had down in Glendale, I bought a couple from that guy down there.
Right. But I don't know if he had the proper.
He might not have been.
You need a freaking sales tax license from whatever city you're in.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd go to the show and I'd never sell cages at the show. I always give information and say, if you're interested, you contact me at the website, because I don't I don't play that game. My business is set up in Santan Valley. That's where I pay taxes. So everything that I buy goes through there, or everything that's sold there.
I'm going to interrupt again. Did you hear about the tax thing now in Arizona with the cigarettes?
What's that?
So, did you hear this, Raj?
No.
So everybody that bought cigarettes online for the last 20 years to avoid paying sales tax, the state has gotten it in their heads now. They've sent notices to everybody saying, hey, because there was it became illegal at one point. So they actually went and seized all the records from these companies that were selling them online.
Gosh.
So they're going after everybody. People are getting $4,500, $5,000, $8,000 tax bills from the state because they bought cartons of cigarettes online for the last 10 years.
Wait a minute.
And they're collecting on it and sending these people out. And, you know, this is normal people that they don't have $4,500 sitting there and saying, well, not only do you owe the state sales tax on this, but you owe all the interest and penalties for the last X number of years. I mean, they're going after them. The state is hurting for revenue is the only thing I know. That's, you know, so it makes you wonder if you buy anything online now, it's not sales tax free. So what's going to happen? And where are they going to get those records?
Well, how many smokers are in? All you have to do is put a pistol in the hand of every smoker and say, okay, let's go down there and make sure this doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, because people don't stand up. We know that.
Well, you know,
They
listening to
haul
an
grandma
interview of Poland when it went under or came out of communist control, the Catholic Church played a big part in that, of unifying people and getting them together. It was kind of like their safe haven and their sanctuary, if you will. And the commies knew this, but you couldn't get everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could infiltrate and see what they're doing, but there's no way you could get everybody. And that's always been my thing. If everybody stood up and just with a collective no, I mean, it's ridiculous. You're trying to steal my money because I'm trying to get a deal on some smokes that you don't let me smoke where I want to smoke them. Even though the guy that owns the property says I can smoke them there, I still can't because you say I can't.
Yep. And now I'm a non-smoker, non-drinker, but I don't like it when people's ability to choose is made illegal. And it's not, you know, that's not a pro-choice thing. I mean, I'm against abortion, but again, that's not
called a freedom thing.
Yeah, it's not my decision. You know, it's not my decision that you smoke. It's not my decision that you drink. That's you. You know, your relationship with whatever almighty you believe in, that's your business. I believe a certain way very strongly, I'll add, but it's not my business to legislate and litigate other people's rights.
Yeah.
As long as you
Amen.
don't affect my rights, we can be friends.
That sounds a little like a libertarian. You must be one of those.
Yeah, I keep telling them that.
You know,
that's
I-
kind of a viewpoint that somebody, I don't know about you, man.
Well, it's, yeah. I mean, I don't have a stash of reefer because I think it ought to be legal, but you know,
these other people are pro-choice, not your light bulbs or where you smoke, but they're pro-choice, man.
yeah, well, yeah. I hear what you're saying. I see what you're saying. What was I saying earlier? Before you jumped in with the tax thing. So back to Noble Mint.
Yes.
What he presented to me, which I really liked, was sectional, like it was a gram of gold and
Yeah, that
sections.
was the little card.
Yeah, and
Yes,
it was a plastic card with the gold in it, and so it was like $20 worth of gold, but it didn't say 20 on the card. It said 20.
20 well,
A gram or a
gram.
0.2 ounces.
It was a really fine shaving
Exactly.
of a
And
piece
it
of
was
gold. It was pretty cool. I thought it was a novel idea.
beautiful idea. And then he tried to sell me on making hostile hair currency. I'm like, wow, that'd be cool to have my emblem on a freaking gold card, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Pamps, is that what they call them?
Pamps.
Pamps.
Yeah.
But the idea that now you have something that you don't have to bust out a scale every time you do business because it's pre-measured, and if the thing isn't cracked and you trust the person that's laminating them, then you have a system there.
No, that's very true. Also, on the numismatic side of things, and you can get some stuff that isn't graded, but they also had, you know, the $20, $10, $5, and a $2.50, which is a little tiny thing. It's kind of comparable, but it has a numismatic value. So the 10th ounce gold coins that you'd see issued from the mint, probably, a little over 120 bucks, I guess.
Well, what's gold at per ounce now? What's the spot?
112.
112.
I mean, 1,000.
Right around 1,200.
$1,200.
Really? Because it was like 900 when the last time I checked it.
No. It hasn't been below 1,000 in a long time.
I haven't checked in a long time, I guess.
It's been about.
All right, guys. I'm going to interrupt you real quick, and because we're coming up against a time crunch for prepperbroadcasting.com.
Dang it.
So what we'll do is I'm going to go through my little thing that we always go through, and if you're on Prepper Broadcasting and listening to us, feel free to jump over to wegrowers.com. We're going to go on for just a couple more minutes, but go check us out at www.wegrowers.com. and do the Ask Us to get your feedback on this show, on other shows, what you want to hear, on Cooney Coons, anything you want. Yeah, we had the Cooney Coon with a loony. That was fun. So Facebook.com/WeGrowOurs. We need more followers. Nick is giving away a cage. Our
3.
Yeah, a 3-tier cage, a really nice cage. All we have to do is hit 3,000, then we're giving that away. So go over to Facebook.com/WeGrowOurs, do that. Twitter.com/WeGrowOurs, come follow us. We don't tweet a lot, but, do it anyway, please. Share it out, whatever. Gompers is coming up in March 7th of 2015. You can go to the website and get your tickets for that. Also on Facebook. I've got an aquaponics class coming up on October 7th. 11th. Saturday the 11th at 10 a.m. out in North Phoenix. And you guys are welcome to come out hands-on that. Again, you can go to Ecopod Gardens or go to We Grow Ours and check that out. Link over. Come to the event. Nick, hostlehair.com. Show sponsor. My Lavender Life has changed the name. So you go to mylavenderlife.com now. It's pure, natural, simple. That's the essential oils with the new, better oils. She decided to change that name. So, thanks for listening on prepperbroadcasting.com as well. And a big shout out to them for carrying us. We appreciate that. All right. So now we're going to continue with us and
put those things back on. Dang it. We're not done with you.
So we might get political now, but, it's on our website. We're allowed to. So tell me some of the other things that what are you seeing right now with everything? Cause I know you keep up on the stuff that I don't.
I haven't kept on as much as I should. I've been doing a lot of reading and, trying to catch up on that. I had some, well issues and some other issues at home and a rental unit that had to be worked on for a week. So I've been out of the news and it was actually quite nice too to take just a little break from it. But I'm concerned about the whole Iraqi ISIS ice hole thing that I'm just hoping that cooler heads will prevail and that we can stop this this policy of intervention that we are just hell bent. And it's like Hillary Clinton comes out, she's just as big a neocon hawk warmonger than any of them. And then Obama, he's sitting there going, okay, I actually have more respect for him, but then he goes and.
All right, well, we lost all of our listeners.
Bombing them. So no, I don't. But you know what they're like? They're like a pair of socks. So you got a left one and a right one. They both wind up stinking. I'm sick of the whole game. And I don't want to play it anymore. Yeah. I want out of there. I want our guys out of there. And I've never been more anti-war in my life than seeing what's going on over there. And
well, what happens if we can't? It's one of those things. You can't win. You're going to go in. You might take out 30,000 people, and you're going to have another generation coming at you, and another. They've
been fighting this war. If you believe in biblical times, they've been fighting this war since 2 men were born.
Yeah,
and this is a 6,000-year war.
All right. And that is true. It goes through degrees of radicalization. Mm-hmm. When Mossadegh was duly elected president of Iran back in the 50s, and the CIA and the Dulles brothers got Eisenhower to oust him and bring in the Shah. They did it by, here's a guy that was totally pro-Western, wanted to nationalize his oil companies, which the British company didn't like, who previously was running the Shah. So they go in and say, hey, we got to dismantle it. We got to dismantle this regime and bring in somebody else. So they bring in They radicalize the Muslims. They bring them in. They overturn them, and then what do we get? We get chaos for the rest of the time. When the Russians go into Afghanistan, we got the Mujahideen in there. Okay, so the Mujahideen, Bin Laden and all them boys, they're fighting the Russians. We go in and we help Bin Laden and the boys fight the Russians off. Okay, after that's over, we're still working with them. Mm-hmm. And now they're our enemies, and then we go, okay, so then we help them out, train them out, and half of them are CIA assets, half of them don't even know if they are or not. It's such a big mess. We got, it's just a big policy of intervention. It's murder.
Yeah. I have to say that I get emotional when I hear the Star Spangled Banner. I am a patriot, but the more I watch how our government is more of a tool to corporations now, it's really hard to get to really. I mean, I love this land. I've got family members that have died in foreign conflicts because we went in and saved Europe twice. Yeah. That's in me, and I continue to respect our soldiers for that. But now it's the iron fist of the corporate world. And I'm not talking, I'm a capitalist. I want to be able to make a lot of money. But the people that are in control of our government are not the politicians we're putting in there. You follow the money strings up and you'll see left or right of the aisle, they're a puppet show. They're a puppet show to keep us distracted and controlled. And I'm really torn here. What do I do? Do I stop being a quote unquote statist? Because I think
you do what you're doing. You teach people. You start to open some eyes up by growing your own food, by teaching people how to be more independent. And I know Roger's on board with this. Roger has an aquaponics system. In fact, that's where we're doing the hands-on thing. Yeah. So he's got a killer aquaponics system because we put it in, and you got you just 15 more chickens just got added to the mix. You got 20 now, 30, 24 chickens. You got how many rabbits? I mean, you go up and down. I buy half of the rabbits I get are from him because yeah. I mean, but you're practicing this stuff and you're doing the same thing, and it's a matter of reaching people.
But you guys talk about this so calmly, and I'm kind of new at this behind the microphone thing, but you're absolutely right, Nick. And it's not capitalism. It's crony capitalism. Mm-hmm. And there's a big crony capitalism is more akin to fascism than any capitalist system. You cannot have fractional reserve banking and have capitalism. Capitalism in a true Austrian sense anyway is the accumulation of capital which is allocated to a certain project which goes through its development, and it may take a while and stuff like that, but it's pure. It's not sullied by created money or fake. For example, say you have the Fed come in and completely lower interest rates, or you have a bust, and the whole Congress, government, president, whatever, come in and do all these work projects. That's what they do over in China. They have the Central Bureau determines the GDP of the country, and then it allocates all these resources to different parts of different provinces, and then they get things to do. They have cities over there that are completely uninhabited with high-rise luxury penthouses and stuff like that. There's nobody living in these buildings. There's nobody's living in the entire cities. That's the malinvestment of that's going over in China. If you had a purely capitalist country or system, you wouldn't build something that nobody's going to use, like FDR. I remember back up here in Snowflake. One of the work projects was going out and ripping out all the juniper trees up along the highway up there. They never came back. They're, it just looks like a wasteland up there.
What was the purpose in taking them out?
To give people jobs.
Give people a job.
So a job without purpose. Man,
Right.
I didn't know about that either.
What do you do? I mean, that's still, I've struggled with that. I've had many talks with Roger,
That-
and what do you do? And that's kind of what you said too. I mean, I love America. But I'm not falling for the government geopolitical crap anymore. I look at like Alna Summer on who's a Facebook thing, the really, really free market out here in Tempe. We've got all these people, a big liberty movement around us. We've got Barry Hess out here who's very involved in it, who's running for governor. And I see what they're doing. And they're more, I think they call themselves more of an anarchy kind of society.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite there either, but what do you do to go from where we are to something that's not controlling us any longer? And that's what I don't know.
I guess the sooner you can remove yourself from being dependent on the system, when their crap doesn't matter as much to you anymore because you're
burning your own rabbit poop for power.
Well, exactly. Well, and even, we talked to Boyd Craven a couple of weeks ago, and that thing, the
Cubit press.
The Cubit press, I made a very solid, I only mixed up a little bit to test it. I took shaved, paper shreds.
Right.
And I made a cube that once it was dry, I stood on it and it didn't break. And I'm a fat guy. And this thing was solid. And with that kind of density in a gasifier, you can have
your own power.
Exactly.
So you're not relying on the
Exactly.
system. So, but what else can you do? I mean, that's why I do this, is so we can reach people. But Roger, what do you think too? I mean, what do you do? How do you get people to open their eyes to this stuff and to start prepping and start growing their own food and start feeding their damn communities?
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys are off to a tremendous start doing what you're doing, and I commend you on it, and I appreciate you, and I think you're doing a great job, and I'm sure your audience does nothing but grow.
We grow ours. We grow our
Indeed.
audience too. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
I'm sure they're organic. And it's gonna take some time. There's a lot of propaganda out there. You're inundated with it every day. What I ask people to do is think for yourself. Think original thoughts. People get most of their opinions from some blonde chick on a freaking 5 o'clock news. They do not think for themselves. They see a stupid news report written in 6th grade English, and they take it as God's honest truth. They see a politician, and as soon as he's elected, they think that he's risen to some kind of deity or something like that.
And they forget he works for us.
Yeah, and you forget that he doesn't give a GD about you. He is not there to serve you. They changed this whole Constitution deal around with the election of the senators and the members of Congress. We have congressmen that are serving, I don't know how many, 150,000 constituents or something. We're supposed to do 35,000, at the max now, but they froze the number in the 1920s. Mm-hmm. So we're not being represented. You can't make me believe for a second that the president or the vice president can even has a handhold on reality. None of them ever worked a day in their life, with the exception of one guy, and that was Ron Paul, that was running in 2008 and 2012, and I love that guy. And I remember during one of his debates, and he held up that silver dime and said, "You want 10-cent gas? Here's 10-cent gas."
But it just made too much sense.
Back then it was worth $2.50. He said a silver dime is worth $2.50. That's what a gallon of gas. And that was superb logic, I thought. Completely right on.
But it's over the heads of most Americans.
And it went over like a turd in a punch bowl. Yeah.
Gosh, there's an image. I'm with you. And I remember my parents when we talked about Ron Paul. He's like, well, he's just going to take away from the Republican vote.
He's going to split a vote.
He's going to split the vote. And
Just
I'm like, yeah. And so everybody's like, well, he's going to split the vote. He's going to split the vote. He's going to split the vote.
Okay. So you got the pair of socks again.
Well, and if let me throw this out there. You got the Republicans saying the Libertarians are going to split the vote and take half the Republicans so nobody gets elected. Well, maybe it's their turn to come over to the Libertarian side and vote for us.
Exactly.
And see what happens because we're doing the same damn thing over and over and over. And I thought somebody said that was a definition of insanity. I might be wrong, but I think it's time for them to move over and quit splitting the damn vote and start voting somebody in that makes sense.
That's right.
Well, and I would urge people to get educated.
Well, we might have lost listeners on this episode now.
If I offended anyone,
exactly. Well, it's not.
We got to come together, guys. We can't be split by all this stupid wedge issue garbage that they throw down the pike, and
we can't say that it's okay. I think, and I've said this a couple of times, the heartstring issues of abortion, gay marriage, these things that we feel very strongly about are not what we should focus on. And I'm willing to put those things in the back seat and we can talk about them on a communal level. But everybody eats 3 times a day. Everybody's burning fuel and using power, and everybody's going to need medicine eventually. We take control of those 3 things on our personal level, then we can start discussing the other those other issues.
I mean, we have said things about liberals, and I'm going to use air quotes that too. But I'll tell you, most liberals I talk to have some really deep feelings about the same things that the libertarians have and the same thing that the Republicans have, which is getting corporation out of there. So, and getting freedom of choice with food, things like that, getting labels on GMO foods. And if we can rally around stuff like that we all agree on, we all agree on this stuff, yet we let them divide us and we're weak at that point.
Right. And that's the oldest, game in the book. I mean, that's, Sun Tzu and the Roman Empire and divide and conquer and
so we've
order out of chaos.
I shout out to all the liberals out there. Come help us too. We can get together on things we agree on.
A lot more than we disagree on.
Isn't that the truth?
Because if you want me to leave you alone, you want me to leave me alone, and you want the man to leave us all alone,
join the ranks, boys.
Yeah. I can't even shoot never mind. I don't want to say that on the thing. Yeah. Hypothetically, I couldn't shoot a coyote on my own damn property anymore. So
I had a conversation today with somebody that it was funny because we started talking and she was actually an African American lady and I wasn't sure how the conversation was going to go, but it started on cell phones and then how we've become dependent on the system and I eased into what we do in the We Grow Ours show, and I invited her to listen to it. So Tiffany, if you hear me, thank you for listening. But I could tell that, she has some residual feelings on the left side of things, as I do on the right side of things. But we both agreed that the government is now bought and paid for. Our votes, we can vote for both sides of the aisle, and there's still the money's still going to the same people. The control is still in the hands of the same people, it's not politics anymore. That's a dog and pony show. But it's cool because she's telling that to all of her friends, and that's a different demographic than I can reach. But at the end of the day, you go under the skin, it's flesh and blood. Same as everybody.
Right. I think it brings up also the recent Scottish vote. Where that.
And I didn't know much about that either.
I didn't really follow it a whole lot either. I was just seeing how it turned out, but I did hear a little commentary from a Scot, and he said, I think people were scared because there wasn't a lot of discussion beforehand on what they were going to do afterwards. They didn't know what kind of government they're going to have. We're going to go from a tyrannical, overbearing government to
an even worse one.
To what? Or we're going to get one welfare system to another welfare system. So I think people are scared here too. I mean, number one, when you got 50 million people on food stamps and stuff like that, they're dependent.
Yeah.
And it's tough. And all these new jobs being magically created, I don't think there are a lot of private sector jobs. I think it's a lot of government jobs. And when the government is the biggest employer in your country and they're printing money like it's going out of business and they're entitled to give everybody a pension, it's very difficult. So I think there's going to have to be a sea change. And all I can say is it's your kids and my kids and stuff and hopefully there's going to be something to evolve out of this.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. And
for the record, this is not a call to arms.
No.
This is just,
we want to educate people on I would like everybody to
fix the world that we're in. Stop voting for the devil we know.
Understand that you're being robbed every single day by the devaluation of your money. Number one, everything you've worked for is going to be sucked dry. And they made the precedent in Cyprus there, where banks can just go in and take a certain percentage of your money and screw you. And basically, they did that right out in the open. Here, they just do it through 100 different slices of a razor, you know?
Yeah. Buying cigarettes online.
Big sin.
All right. Well, I think we're good for episode 36. Thank you, Roger, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Really
guys.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed this one. I'm not going to go through the spiel again, so we'll just say goodnight.
Yeah, ditto to what was before. Well, boys and girls, we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening.